Turning now to politics, some of the country's largest labor unions are now reportedly slashing their financial support of the Democratic Party. At issue is what they call a tepid response to Republican efforts to eliminate collective bargaining powers, cut Medicare funding, and to require voters to show ID at the polls. With us now from Washington, D.C. is Democratic Congressman Luis Gutierrez of Illinois, a member of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And Congressman, always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure to be with you, Lou.
Let's start with what is happening here in the Democratic Party with organized labor, making it very clear that they're not going to be taken for granted in their support of Democratic candidates. Does that surprise you?
That doesn't surprise me at all, Lou. I think labor unions, the AFL-CIO, should do what's in their best interest, what's in their self-interest. That is, they represent men and women that are in collective bargaining agreements. So that's exactly what they should do. I kind of think, look, labor unions are going to have to make a decision. Like a lot of other people, are they first and foremost for the re-election of Democrats and President Barack Obama, or defending the best and self-interest of the men and women that pay the union dues and elect them to office? I think so. I think they're opting to do the former, and I think that's the correct thing to do.
And this, what it seems to be a fracturing coalition that is the Democratic Party. You yourself have said that you're not going to be taken for granted in terms of a favorite for president. Do you think that this is this something we should expect from Hispanic voters across the country? Is this your individual decision, or how do you see it?
Look, I want to support Barack Obama for re-election as President of the United States. I can do that on my own, or I can work to rally, hopefully, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of others who were with him in the last election.
Right.
In order to do that, he's going to have to step forward and do more than just go to El Paso and give a nice speech about comprehensive immigration reform. He's going to have to take some actions. Here's the way I kind of look at it, Lou. It's like I say to myself, what's my first and basic priority as a legislator? And I think it's to represent the constituency that sends me here to Washington, D.C. I might not make the, the dinner list at the White House or get a nice seat on Air Force One, but I'm going to have a lot of self-respect, and I'm going to respect the people that sent me. Women advanced in this country because they challenged Woodrow Wilson. The labor movement advanced because they challenged FDR. And you know something? The civil rights movement in the 60s advanced because they challenged LBJ. I think that's what the labor movement is doing today, challenging the Democratic Party, their friends and their allies, to do better. And I think that's what brings about change in America.
You know, turning to the issue of Hispanic American voters, the latest Gallup poll shows Obama's approval rating among Hispanics at 59% from an all-time low last month of 47%. What do you attribute that improvement?
Well, look,
significant improvement.
It's a significant improvement. I think there are many issues that the Latino community supports. But let's remember, Barack Obama got between 67%, no one disputes the 67% of the Latino vote, up to 70% of the Latino vote, and it increased over 2 million. That is, there was a gross increase in the number of Latinos voting in the presidential election between 2004 and 2008 of 2 million. The question you have to ask yourself, and you and I both know, it's not just who's eligible to vote or what percentage, but how many of them actually turn out. So if you get a deflated turnout, you might get 59%, but 59% of what? Of 100 votes or of 1,000 votes? I think you want, obviously, the latter.
So what is this president going to have to do to win the vote of Congressman Luis Gutierrez?
Well, I think what he's going to have to do is keep the basic fundamental promise that he made. He said he was going to be a defender and a champion. And so all I'm asking this president to do is to speak with the same kind of energy, with the same kind of vigor, with the same kind of commitment that the immigrant community is under attack across this community, that he defend that community, and that he show very clearly that he's with. Look, Lou, I mean, sending 1,200 more National Guardsmen, that might be a good idea to the border. Sending E-Verify for everybody that has a federal contract, making sure that you have secure communities across, this new secure communities across, which makes police and the immigration agents share information. You know, those things are part of comprehensive immigration reform, but there should also be a heart and a soul and a compassion for young men and women, the dream kids. I think the president should heed what 22 Democratic senators asked him to do, and that is not deport them until the Congress of the United States can take action and finally determine. There are 4 million American citizen children. And Lou, I just don't think it's in the best interest of the United States, and it's good public policy to deport their moms and dads. It's all if the one crime that you can find that they're being accused of is working here undocumented, we should allow them. Let's fix the immigration system, and in the interim period, let's not punish those that have American citizen children and that came here through no fault of their own.
Let me ask you this. You said for those who have government contracts, E-Verify. What would be wrong with the idea of E-Verify for every employer in the country?
I would have absolutely no problem with that. And I want to do that within the context of comprehensive immigration reform. As you know, when the president goes down to El Paso, Lou, he comes and says, I'm for comprehensive immigration reform. Where in that speech are his partners in the Republican Party? Where are his partners that he's bringing together, Republicans and Democrats? I know one thing, that when I introduced comprehensive immigration reform, I did it with Congressman Flake and a dozen other Republicans here in the House. And Kennedy and McCain did it together. And, you know, that's the way you create successful advances legislatively.
If I may just point out as a footnote as we have to close here, President George W. Bush was the man pushing forward comprehensive immigration reform. Yes. Secondly, the Democrats control both houses of Congress for 2 years under this president. That would have been, I would have thought, significant support for comprehensive immigration reform. With that footnote,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on both. And
I'm going to stop with you telling me I'm right about anything.
No, you're right. We should have done more. We were in the majority. We failed to deliver.
Congressman, thanks for being here. Good to talk with you. Come back soon.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Congressman Luis Gutierrez. Tomorrow.